Hi everybody, welcome to my class. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create this beautiful pumpkin painting in watercolours, especially for beginners, so let's get started. So let's quickly go through the materials you'll need to produce this painting today. I'm going to be using cadmium yellow, cadmium red and ultramarine blue, so I'm going to teach you a little bit about mixing colours. I'm using an ordinary HB pencil to draw the image of the pumpkins. I've got a piece of watercolour paper, and today I've taped it down to a piece of cardboard, which just helps it stay nice and flat while we're painting. I've got two brushes, a number 4 round and a number 8 round, piece of kitchen paper and 2 pots of water, one to keep clean. If we're mixing colours we don't want to use dirty water because they'll go all murky, and then one for cleaning the brush. So to begin with then, I'm going to take the number 8 brush and I'm going to start off in the centre with the larger pumpkin. Just wet my brush and I'm going to show you how to mix an orange. So I'm taking some of the yellow, a little bit of clean water and then a little tiny bit of red, and it quickly turns that into a nice orange shade. I've got a tester strip here, so if I just show you the kind of colour I'm talking about, so it's a nice orange colour, and I'm also going to be using just some red as well, so I can go straight into the red on my palette. I don't need to worry about mixing that. But for one of my other pumpkins I'm going to do a mixture of yellow and orange, and for the other one I'm going to do yellow and green. So I'm going to show you quickly how to mix the green. So a little bit of water on the palette, starting off again with the yellow, cleaning off my brush, and then adding a little bit of blue. Blue's much stronger than the yellow, so it only takes a small amount to change it. Clean off my brush again. Oh, I want quite a dark green, so I'm going to add a bit more blue to that until I'm happy with the green that I've created. So the French ultramarine makes a nice dark green when mixed with the cadmium yellow. So in our palette now we've got our orange and green ready to go. So taking my larger brush, I am going to just take some of that orange, just mix up a little bit more quickly because I don't want to run out. So I'm going to take that orange straight onto my paper, and I'm just going to paint, starting at the top and working my way down the pumpkin. I'm not painting over the stalk, just being careful not to let that orange spread into the stalk there, because we obviously want that painted in a different colour. So just bring that paint down, work nice and quickly so that the paint doesn't have time to dry, so you get a nice even coat of orange on that pumpkin. Now once you've got to the bottom, what I want to do now is take my number 4 round brush and I want to go straight into the red, and I'm going to add little bits of red just with the tip of my brush, working my way down the shape to define those curves. And as you can see, because the orange paint is wet, you get this nice fluffy kind of line. Oh, it's a little bit dry at the top there, so that's okay. Just take my big brush with a little bit of water on it, just wet that area again, with the red, just added a little bit of red at the top there. And that gives us that first pumpkin. So nice and simple, we've mixed our orange and we've added some lines of red to show the definition of the shape. So moving on to our next pumpkin. So I'm going to make this one the green and yellow pumpkin, so you get all different shades which are really pretty. I'm going to start off by taking some of the cadmium yellow and trying not to touch the edge of the other pumpkin because it might be slightly wet still, and if my yellow paint goes into it, it'll bleed into the other pumpkin, so we don't want that. We want nice crisp edges, so just be careful not to do that. Oops, went into the wrong colour there. So we've got this nice strong orange on the one pumpkin and this lovely bright yellow on the second pumpkin. And because we've only got the one colour so far, it looks quite flat. The shape looks very, very flat. It doesn't look three-dimensional. So what we do now is just clean my brush. This is where I'm going to use the green that we mixed earlier. And just mix that up again on the palette. And I've got my smaller brush and I'm going to do exactly the same thing as before. Just coming to the centre and working around those curves. A little bit of green in the back there as well, I think. So it's a lovely soft effect, this wet in wet. So I showed you this last week in our first painting, and we're just utilising it in a slightly different way this time. So this time we're adding the details with the wet and wet technique, and it's giving us this lovely softened colour. Okay, so that's the second pumpkin there. Clean off my brush. And the third pumpkin is yellow and orange. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing again. Some clean water into my yellow paint. Coming all the way down. Starting from the top, I just find it's easier. You can work your way down methodically then if you start at the top and work your way down. Now, the first pumpkin should be dry by now, so we can take the paint right up to the edge without worrying about it. Bring it all the way down to the bottom. And I'm going to lift out a little bit of colour, so with my clean brush, it's just a little bit damp. I'm going to lift out some colour. Can you see I've just popped my brush down? Just lifting out some of that yellow with a damp brush. It removes some of that paint while it's wet, and that gives us sort of highlights on the top of the pumpkin, which is quite nice. Come in with that darker orange colour. And draw it down the pumpkin, and as you can see, it's not spreading quite as much. It's giving a little bit more definition now. Just adding a bit more red to it so that it stands out. Wash off my brush. And even at this stage, I could lift out some more paint. So my brush is clean, it's got some water on it. I can draw down the front of the pumpkin and I can just lift off some of that paint to lighten it. Oh, clean water, remember. And drag your brush down on the surface and just remove some of the paint, just to create more texture on the surface there. It's building that shape, It looks much more three-dimensional now, which is really nice. I'm going to come across and do the same with this one on the right here. Just because this one is dried, you add the water to the painting and you dab off with a little bit of paper towel, and it'll just create some highlights. So I'm scrubbing away at the surface with my brush, and then you can see it's removed a little bit of paint to give a little highlight. Same thing in the central one, the larger pumpkin, just bring some highlights across. So always use a clean paper towel to do this. You don't want to be transferring dirty paint onto your painting. So make sure you've got a clean party paper towel when you dab it off. Use a bit of pressure, and if it doesn't lift straight away, go again for a second time, and eventually you'll find that you can remove that paint and it leaves a nice highlight. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to mix a colour for the stems. So we've got our green mix, and what I'm going to do is take some of the orange and mix that in with the green that we've got on the palette. So lifting some of the orange, popping it into the green, and we get this nice kind of green-brown colour, which is perfect for our stalks. So I'm just going to fill in those shapes. With the point of the brush, you can get in to lots of small areas with the tip. If you just put the tip of your brush down, you can create nice fine lines. If you actually put pressure on the brush, you find that you're making a big mark. So that's how you control the application of the paint. So just use the very tip of your brush when you're painting very small details, and you'll be absolutely fine then. Okay, and I'm going to use the same colour for all three. Go, and then perhaps just get a little bit of a darker brown by adding a bit more blue, and just put a little bit of that in some sections just to create some shadows here and there, and that will just blend into the rest of the stalk that you've popped down. That looks fab. So there you have your three pumpkins. If I bring them up a bit closer for you guys, I've got this lovely one with the yellow and the orange, and the orange and the red, and then the green and the yellow, which is a really pretty one. Thanks for watching, guys. See you again next week. Hope you've enjoyed painting with me today. Take care, bye bye.